Welcome to Breaking Barriers. You know your path. We know the obstacles, and we can teach you how to tear them down. And now your host, CEO and founder of Adapting Social, John Vigero.
All right, guys. Welcome back to Breaking Barriers. I'm super excited today. Tairah Brown, who we are interviewing here today, has such an amazing story. She has an amazing mission that she has here at hand here. I'm grateful we get the opportunity to work with her, with the business that she does. But you're involved, Tairah, in the space of helping people in recovery and addiction. And it's such a hot topic because of the fact that most of our country suffers with this. And we all know somebody who has passed away or actively battling it. And I shared with you, my father, has gone through it. And, it's such a sensitive thing for so many people. So first and foremost, thank you for being here today. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
What made you want to get into this space?
What made me want to get into this space, I have my own struggle with addiction with alcohol. For me, that was something I wanted to keep quiet. I didn't really want anybody to know about. But as I was going through my journey and I saw that both of my girls were struggling with addiction themselves, and I was desperate for help, didn't know where to turn, didn't know, I didn't know the first thing to do. I was completely lost. I realized that there are so many people that were in my situation that didn't know where to turn. And, there's so much help out there that, there's so many people, I felt alone, and I realized that there's actually a lot of people that are in my same place. And I want to help other people so they don't feel lost and alone.
That's so amazing. And the thing I love the most about your journey is that it's so personal to you because of your experience, obviously you seeing your daughters and stuff, and it's pretty challenging. And so since you started, what are some of the key takeaways? So for somebody listening to this right now, that's like, hey, I have an issue, maybe they haven't admitted it. What do you think are the first steps that they should take?
I guess the first steps that you should take is, when I first started out, I didn't know I had an issue. I didn't have a clue. It never even crossed my mind. I realized it through a process of therapy. I guess, for the person that's dealing with alcoholism, reach out for help. That's really the first thing you can do. For the family members that are watching their loved one sink into addiction, the same thing. Start reaching out for help. And that's where Love Prevails steps in, is to start guiding you through that process. And, the person that is going through addiction but doesn't really know it, isn't really on board, they, we will help you find your way. There's not a clear path for everybody, but we will guide you and help you through to find your way.
Right. That's really powerful. Now, what was the signs for you? When did you realize that you had a problem? So for people out there maybe that don't realize, you're saying, hey, I didn't realize it. What was the standout thing for you that you're like, hey, I have an issue? How did you realize?
Oh gosh. I never hid my alcoholism because I never thought that it was a problem. So I actually went to a doctor and was wanting something, wanted to have a procedure done. And so when they asked me how much I drank, I was super honest. And they asked me if I thought I was an alcoholic. And, of course, in my opinion, or what I always knew of an alcoholic was, the person under the bridge with the brown bag, the homeless person. I never imagined it was somebody that could hold down a job, that was raising kids, that was going through life. And so when I was first told I was an alcoholic, I certainly didn't believe it. And I actually was pretty angry. It took me going, watching my alcoholism get, escalate before. It took me a couple of years after that before I realized, I was more interested in helping my daughter who was dealing with her addiction than, she had a problem, not me.
Right.
And so it took a long time for me to get on board with it.
Yeah, it's so because you never think it could be you, right? It's like it's not me. That's not going to happen to me. What are you talking about?
I had friends that were alcoholics. I could tell you all my friends that were alcoholics. I could tell you alcoholic, but it wasn't me.
Right. So now as you move forward with this business, so talk about your business. Tell us how it started and tell us a little bit more about your business.
I just realized that I have a lot to give between what I've been through. I've worked with multiple people, find their way through addiction. I have multiple people in my life that I have taken, helped through their journey. My girls, I just realized one day that the things I've been through in my life are nothing if I'm not using them to help other people. My girl's dad committed suicide. It's been a rough road for me, and what does all this mean if I'm not using what I've been through to help other people? And so I just realized that this is where my life was taking me, and I want to give what I've been through to other people. So with Love Prevails, we do the peer support services for people that are trying to find their way, whether we help you get into a facility or we guide you without the help of a facility. There are so many different paths to take to recovery, and to find out maybe you're not you don't have trouble with substances, but it's a good way to figure that out. With our intervention support, we work with families, teaching you how to communicate with your loved one. We work with you to get your loved one into treatment, and that's a process that takes a few weeks to get to that. I will be with your loved one, transport them to the facility that we decide on. It's a huge service that's
really hands-on.
Yeah,
that's incredible. And now, so what would be a piece of advice that you would give somebody, obviously before they reached out to somebody like you, right? If they're in early phases, what's the best way in your experience on approaching somebody who's going through this, like approaching your family member?
So that's a tough one. And the only way, in my experience, that you can really approach somebody who's dealing with substance abuse is take the judgment out. You're not going to be able to relate, and they're not going to want to hear judgment. The biggest piece of advice I can give you is remove the judgment and love them through it. They are not in control of what they're doing anymore if they are under the influence of a substance. And it takes time for them to gain that control back. And they're not intentionally trying to hurt you, but you need to just take a step back, take the judgment out, find your own path to recovery as the family member, and then come back. And, I had a couple families that I worked with the last couple of weeks. Both of the individuals that were struggling were about my age. These were both men, 54 years old. One of them, through mental health, took his life and left his children behind. He just couldn't, he couldn't go on anymore. The other one, this gentleman was a multimillionaire, and he lost his life to fentanyl. And so this addiction, it affects everyone. It doesn't matter what your income level is or where you sit in society. And these are just two situations where you don't know when that end is near. And so the quicker you can reach out and get help to work through it, the better.
That's amazing, Tairah. That's so insane. And I'm just so grateful for the work that you do, because the world needs people like you to help them and to stop that inevitable, death, right? That could happen if they don't get off that track. So two things. So we're getting close to the end here, but I would love for you, before we get to where you plug yourself, what is one thing that you want to be remembered by in your journey? So when you think about the big picture, your daughters, what do you want your legacy to be for your family?
The legacy I want for my family, that I didn't waste the experiences I went through, and that I used my difficulties and my experiences not to be a victim anymore, but to help others to overcome. I guess that would be super important to me. I don't, there comes a point in life when you can't, being a victim, you can't be a victim anymore. And I could certainly sit in that for the rest of my life if I chose to, but I choose to put it behind me and to use what I've been through to help others. And I guess that would be the legacy I would want.
That's amazing, Tairah. And again, you're so selfless. That's why I love you. You're literally so selfless. You want to help people. You want to help your daughters. You want to help these people who are in these tough situations. So anybody listening to this, where can they find you and engage in your services?
Love Prevails LLC. I know that we did change the domain, but I know it's under Intervention Support Services and Love Prevails. And I'd love to chat with you. I'd love to see where you're at, see where we can get you. And, I'd love an opportunity to work with you.
I love it. And I can personally say that Tairah's been so amazing and just care so much. So Tairah, thank you so much, first off, for being here. Thank you for taking time in your day to send this message out there to people, because we all know somebody. Let's be honest. We all know somebody. And we're just so grateful that you're doing what you're doing in the world. The world needs more people like you doing what you're doing. And your mission is a big one. So I'm really grateful for your time here today. And guys, go check Tairah out and Love Prevails. And, if you know anybody, don't feel embarrassed or worried or any of those things. Like, be egoless, be open, and just send them, Tairah's information. And Tairah, thank you so much. I'm really grateful for your time here today.
I appreciate it, Jonathan. Let me mention one more thing, that I think that there is a stigma with addiction and mental health. And right now it's a big focus in our society is mental health and addiction. And just with, with the recent election and now with the holidays coming up, alcohol sales have skyrocketed right now. So there's a lot of people right now that need help and that need that could use this service, and I would love to speak with each and every one of you.
I love it. And again, there's no better person in my opinion. So, again, give Tairah a shout out, and and I think you're going to be happy that you did. And again, Tairah, thank you so much, for being here. And everybody, thank you for listening.
Thank you.